I think there's a bunch of things that people can take away from this. And, one of them is that if you have HPV or if you have cervical cancer, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing socially wrong with you. Everybody has it. And it's one of those things. So if you eliminate the stigma behind it, then you can start really talking and having an open discussion. And I think that what we're trying to do with this film is make it more comfortable for people to have this discussion and talk about it and say, in the years past, people wouldn't even talk about breast cancer before Susan G. Komen and all these, now football players are wearing pink shoes in games and stuff like that, and people can talk about it, and then a change can happen. So what we're trying to do is make that a little more comfortable for people to talk about and say, oh, I saw a documentary on cervical cancer, and they can talk about it, talk about getting vaccinated and getting screened and telling people to go get checked up for, get your gynecological screenings. It's all very important, and that's what we want to do, is just really sort of put it on the table and let people discuss it.
Yeah, and the people we followed in the film were very generous, and they shared their lives with us, and including Kelly, who I think a lot of people know now. She passed away and she died, and she really opened her heart and said, it's too late for me, but I really want people to understand that cervical cancer can be dangerous. This is not something to play around with. And so she was incredibly generous because she was hoping that it would save other people's lives. And then what I would say to parents, if you're on the fence with the HPV vaccine, you probably have some valid reasons. Just watch the film. Watch the film, educate yourself, learn about the numbers, learn about the prevalence, like the stigma, for instance. Why is there a stigma about a virus that 80% of people have at some point in their lives? The stigma is not really against people with HPV. It's with people who have a reaction from HPV to what most of us have. So the takeaway really here is watch the film, even if you're very anti-vaccinating your kids for HPV, because most parents who have watched the film, once they see it and once they understand the science behind it and the human toll of what cervical cancer can have, most of them come back and say, you know what, I'm going to get my kids vaccinated. And to us, it makes Kelly's sacrifice, because that is a sacrifice. Most people when they're terminal, they kind of retreat, they close their doors, they stay with their families. She kept it open for the camera to see it all, and that's a huge sacrifice. But it leads to saving lives. So watch the film.
And people, especially here in the U.S., will say cervical cancer is not really a problem anymore. There's 4,000 women-ish a year die from cervical cancer in the U.S., but it's really so much more than that. And that's what you'll see from the film, is that it affects lives and relationships. It's a huge thing. Almost everybody in the film, actually aside from Kristen, but all the ladies we interviewed in the film had effects of their relationships, divorces, and breaking up with their significant others after they were diagnosed or found out they had HPV, and then especially cervical cancer, because along with there's other things like hysterectomies that happen, which is huge. So along with just the mortality numbers that exist around cervical cancer, so many other things happen. You're talking about hysterectomies, other physical ailments that come from the treatments, from successful treatments of cervical cancer. And then relationship issues is a really big thing. It's such an intimate and personal problem, and it affects relationships in a big deal, in intimacy and marriages and whatnot. So
to build a little bit on what Mark was talking about, so you have the people who died of cervical cancer, and it's true that 4,000 women, not to Kelly's family, cervical cancer is 100% mortality, right, for her case. But it is not the biggest killer, but you think about the hysterectomy, like Mark was saying. You think about losing your womb, what that does to women, but also think about the treatment, radiation treatment, chemotherapy, and the lasting effects of that. That's devastating even to a body and to the health of people. So, but the thing that is most important to say here is cervical cancer doesn't have to happen. if you get screened, so if you're lucky enough and you can get the vaccine because you're young enough, that's great. But if you're too old for the vaccine, cervical cancer can be caught on time before it becomes cancer. It's very, very treatable. You know, if you catch cervical cancer when it's dysplasia, CIN 1, CIN 2, the success rate of getting rid of the HPV activity in your body is very, very high. So it's very treatable if it's caught on time, but that means you, as a woman, have a responsibility to stay on top of your checkups.